welcome here. This is Hot Prospects, where we discuss how to turn your lead generation into a burning inferno. Once again, we got Ryan Smith coming in from the Great White North. Ryan, you love prospecting as much as I do?
I love intentional prospecting as much as you do. I don't like pointless prospecting. So that's what I want to dive into today, and how to be more purposeful with the prospecting, because I think a lot of agents think they're prospecting and they're not doing it effectively.
Yeah, it's kind of like taking a shower with the raincoat on. It might seem like you're doing something, but you're just you're not really getting that wet.
Yeah. So I want to share something I'm passionate about, is what I call reverse prospecting, and it's something that I find agents miss the opportunities on because we can dive into why. But to me, reverse prospecting is looking for opportunities for existing clients that you already have and leveraging that to get yourself out there again. When most people think about prospecting, they start with just the general cold, hey, are you thinking about making a move? Hey, are you buying or selling? Hey, are you thinking about making a move? And they're just trying to find someone who's cold, untouched lead. They're just trying to find someone who's thinking about making a move. And a lot of times agents get burned out by this. They get out there and they don't have a good experience with it. And then they say, prospecting sucks. In my experience, when you have a reason to properly prospect, what I consider reverse prospecting, it becomes easier to do. It actually doubles up your effectiveness. And then especially if you're doing farming, which is I'm a big fan of, it actually helps you get your name out there to more people and connect in the community.
All right, so stop right there. So when you talk about reverse prospecting, do you mean put your back to the wall, stand on your head, doing your underwear? What is reverse
all the
prospecting?
Above. You got to do it. So generally, I find it's when you have a buyer is the easiest way to reverse prospect. We'll talk about sellers in a second, but a buyer would be, I've got a buyer and they're looking for a home. The typical response for a lot of agents is, I'm going to put them on our MLS system, set them up on a drip, hope something comes up, and then when they see a home they like, they call me. And the reality is that
they're going to go sign with another agent while you're sending them drips.
Exactly. And that doesn't make it, you don't look good in front of the client. They've hired you to find them a home. So if I can tie in my prospecting and help them at the same time, then you're killing two birds with one stone. And this is where reverse prospecting comes in. So if we have someone who's looking for something very specific, we should be doing everything we can to try to help them find that, while we're also getting our name out there. And
wait a second. You're telling me that we shouldn't just send them the same list of homes from our MLS database that they can find on Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com? You're telling me that you should actually try a little harder than that?
That's exactly. And so I would say the easiest place to start with, if you're not into prospecting, is if you have an existing database, that's a great place to start. And that also helps you call your database. So for a lot of people, they're terrified of making calls. They're afraid of calling their database. They're not sure what to say. Well, how easy is it if you were to call your database and say, hey, just not sure if you know, I've got someone looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom bungalow in this neighborhood. Do you happen to know anyone who might make a move? I got a serious client who's ready to go. Well, that call is a lot easier than calling a prospect you haven't spoke with and saying, hey, you selling? Right. Now you're prospecting for your buyer and you're calling your database. So now there's a touch point into your database that actually works and is working for your buyer at the same time. So that's an easy kind of starting point if you have a database. If you don't have a database, that's a whole other conversation. If you're not proactive.
Everybody has a database. They just don't realize it.
If you have a engaged database, then.
If you have a cell phone that's got more than 20 phone numbers in it, you got a database.
But if you're not working it, then you've got,
someone else is.
Exactly. So that's an easy one for people to grasp. Another one would be going around a specific neighborhood. So a lot of times when I get my clients and I'll speak with them and say, listen, we're gonna help you find your home. Once we start getting an idea of what you're looking for, and we can narrow it down exactly what you're looking for, we're gonna go above and beyond. We're gonna start trying to find you a home. But we need to know kind of general area, price point. So we'll go out a few times to get a clear idea of what it is, and then we'll narrow down where we're gonna kind of put all of our attention in. So we do letters to the neighborhood. So we got a specific letter that we use that is very effective that we'll send out. We'll door knock the neighborhood. We'll cold call the neighborhood. We'll call leads in our database that are in that neighborhood specific, or it might be a certain townhouse complex or a certain part of town. And then what happens is then we start to generate interest for our buyers in that community. And the people, again, in that community see us as, hey, this person's doing their job. They're not just sitting back collecting a paycheck. And that is an easy way to start to, again, double up on your efforts, and that it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you're not just doing the same thing that everyone else is doing, which is allowing the other tools to take care of it. And otherwise, you don't really have any value as a real estate professional if you're not also giving that extra value to the transaction.
And that's something that we use backtracking in our buyer when we're meeting with the buyer for the first time, is we explain the process of how we work and what we do and why we do that. And that's one of the benefits you get with working with us, is we don't just sit there and put you on MLS and hope we find you a home. So that helps solidify us as the right choice. So that's something we do. And then another one that, again, some people may have done that, or they may do that and that works, but to take it a step further is to do it digitally and online. And again, we talked earlier about Facebook groups in another video. There are Facebook groups in there that are buy and sell groups. You could be putting in those groups saying, hey, we've got someone looking for X, Y, and Z. And I'm going to share a story and the financials around that, because it's important to do. So I had a buyer lead that I got from borrowing a listing. So it's a whole thing I teach as well on borrowing listings from people, advertising those listings. So I got a lead from that, and they were looking for something very specific.
You're saying borrow a listing as in temporarily owned possession.
No, yeah.
Borrowing.
No, borrow to advertise. So we get permission to advertise those listings.
Okay.
We've got a plan that we put in place. So I borrowed that listing.
It's that Canadian accent. I thought you said burrow a listing. I thought you were going to tunnel underneath someone's, come up in their basement and be like, hey.
That's extreme prospecting.
Yeah, I think that could be a TV show.
Yeah, you pop up and ask if they're willing to sell their home.
Yeah, right.
So we borrowed a listing, got a lead from it. I took that lead and said, hey, we've got a buyer looking for something in this specific area. I put it out there. I ended up getting 4 appointments. Of those 4 appointments, of sellers who said, yeah, I'm thinking about selling my home. 2 of those I ended up listing. Of those, I also bought a home with them as well. That client bought another home it was another one. We sold them that home. They turned around, sold that home, and then bought another home. So I made over
like 5 or 6 transactions.
Yeah, and I made almost $100,000 because I took one listing, reverse prospected it, and then it enhances what I do in the community, because people see, oh, there's Ryan. This is who he is. It was in a farm that I was starting, and they could see that I was active. And then not only did I get those 2 listings, I got about 12 people that I added to my database who were putting their hand up, weren't ready for an appointment, and said they might be making a move. And so that was just from one lead that I used to leverage. And
that's not bad for prospecting in your underwear.
Yeah. So you have to have a plan around that. And I think that's a key part to it, is going, okay, what am I going to do? Who am I going to reach? How am I going to do that? And actually have a strategy around that. If you just kind of haphazardly go, yeah, I'll probably pick up the phone, or I might go out and door knock, or I might do something, you're probably not going to do it. So have a plan of what you're going to do for each lead you get. And then I would just add in one thing that's important, is do that for your more hot prospects. Shout out to the show, is use that strategy for the hot prospects. If you got someone who's like, yeah, if you find me something, I might buy maybe next year and whatever, don't go out of your way for a person who's not committed and not serious. It's do that for the people who are like, hey, I've got my pre-approval, I'm ready to pull the trigger, I'm ready to jump. And they are going to be even more impressed, and they're going to be, even if you never find them the home, they're going to be more happy, more likely to refer you. And again, the community sees that you're active, and that's a huge part.
You're proactive.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're actually going out there and prospecting on behalf of a client is what you're doing.
Yep.
And so, it's like one of the scripts I used to like was that I prospect on behalf of my clients, because while I'm out there making calls and I'm asking, who do you know, and all these things, I'm actually trying to put things together. So if somebody says, oh yeah, we're thinking about buying a house. Oh great, I've got this listing. Or they say, hey, I'm looking to buy this. Wonderful, I got a couple of phone calls I can make for you. Really? And I never used the word reverse prospecting, but yeah, that's kind of what it was. But I really like this idea of putting a label on it. There was in our local MLS here, there was a button years ago that said reverse prospecting. And what it would do is you could put in all the things that your buyer was looking for, and then it would automatically show you all the listings that match that buyer's needs. Well, that's really kind of the same thing as just looking in the MLS for it. So that's what I always think of when I hear reverse prospecting. So I'm glad that you've got a different definition of it.
And then I was going to add with a listing, and then we'll wrap up, is you can do it with listings as well. It's just usually pre-listing is when we do the reverse prospecting. Because once it's on MLS, you should be out marketing it and doing it. But with a listing, you can be taking exclusive listings, marketing it. We had our newsletter that went out, and we had a community, I call it the client corner, where we would say, hey, we're going to feature your home If you're thinking about selling your home, we'd position it there. And then when I go to listing appointment, I tell them, I'm at the appointment, I say, listen, we've actually been trying to sell your home before we even met you. We started selling your home 6 months ago, 8 months ago, because we've been generating leads in this area. And the first thing we do when you decide to work with us is we're going to go through our database and try to find you a buyer through the people that have already been looking and have been working with us and match that up. And that, again, helps solidify you. And that's, in my opinion, reverse prospecting for sellers and buyers. And it just ties in really nicely, and they love it.
Because hopefully you should be providing some sort of valuable service that somebody cannot get from the internet. They can't Google it. They can't find it on their own. That you're actually providing a service other than just being a warm body to fill in the blanks on the contract forms.
Exactly. Yep. And that's where you got to think outside the box, but you got to be willing to do that and think differently than most agents.
Sure. Ryan, another great one. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
If you guys found value in this here conversation, then go ahead and, do all those things you might do. Share it with a friend, thumbs up, tune in again. Ryan, let's try it again. For now, see ya.